Hello, I'm Daniel, and welcome to the Emunah Project. In this coming toward Pesach, when we're talking about chumetz and matzah and leavening and being swollen and puffed up and prideful and arrogant and boastful, I'm reminded of the story of Reb Zushya of Anipol and the rabbi. In the late 1700s in Anipol, which I believe is in northern Ukraine. There's another Anipol in Poland, but this one is the one in northern Ukraine. There were two rabbis, Reb Zushya of Anipol, a Hasidic man, very pious, a student of the Maggid of Mezrich. And there was another rabbi. This rabbi, unlike Reb Zushya, who was very poor and very sickly and lived a very modest life and was very humble, this other rabbi was very prideful. He was making a living as a rabbi, and he demanded and expected respect, and he wasn't a happy person. He was very quick to anger, very quick to find fault in people. He generally didn't like people, and he probably didn't like himself. One night, the rabbi was very frustrated, but he was never happy. He was never angry, and it drove him crazy that every time he was walking through town, in the marketplace, whatever, he would run into Reb Zushya, a guy with nothing, and nothing. As he's saying, he's nothing with nothing, gornish mit gornisht. And on top of having no possessions, virtually no possessions, living in a hut, he was also sickly. And yet, Reb Zushya always was smiling, always was happy. The rabbi couldn't understand it. Why is he, a big important kind of guy, the rabbi of Anipol, he's never happy, he's always angry, and Reb Zushya, who's got nothing, always has a smile, always has a kind word. So what does he do? In the middle of the night, he sneaks out of the house so, no one should see him, goes to the poorest part of town, and knocks on the door of the little ramshackle hut that belongs to Reb Zushya. And now he saw through the window that there was candlelight. There was light. So he knocks on the door a little tentatively, and of course Reb Zushya answers the door, and he's surprised to see the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, I'm very, very honored. Something about this rabbi, in addition to having, character flaws, he was also a Misnaged. The Misnagdim were the opponents to the Hasidim. They opposed Hasidus and everything it stood for. They thought Hasidim they were superstitious, uneducated peasants who followed the Rebbes blindly and believed in miracle workers, and there was an ongoing battle between the Misnagdim and the Hasidim. It's not like now where it's one big happy family. So this Misnaged comes knocking on the door of a Chassid. It took him a lot, but this question was driving him crazy. So Reb Zushya says, come in, please. What? How can I help you? I'm flattered that you're here. What can I help you? He says, I don't understand, Reb Zushya. I don't understand. I'm never happy. I always feel like I'm being insulted and put down and denigrated. And you are so happy, and look, you live in a ramshackle hovel. You've got patched clothing. You're starving to death, and you're as happy as can be. I don't understand. I just don't understand. And Reb Zushya used to refer to himself in the third person. He says, well, I'm flattered that you came to see Reb Zushya with this problem, but all I know is what I see and what I can observe. Let me give you an example. Last month, a very rich man in town Reb Moshe, a philanthropist, very wealthy guy, threw a wedding for his only daughter. And, of course, being the rabbi of Anipol, you were invited. My understanding is that when you got the invitation, the people came to your door to invite you, to give you the invitation, you immediately demanded to see the guest list. And that you saw that you were not on the top of the list. You were further down. You weren't even in the top 10. You were like 14, 17. You were very offended. And you made your displeasure known. And you decided, I'm going to go to the wedding, but I'm going to make a point of coming late, which you did. You came late. Everyone was already enjoying the delicious food. All of the seats were taken. And you're upset that there wasn't a seat for you. Reb Moshe, whose daughter was getting married, who was throwing the wedding, sees you, and he says, I'm so glad you're here. I was so afraid you weren't going to come. Please, please, please. And he takes you to the head table. And of course, there was no seat there either. And you got upset that there wasn't a seat for you at the head table. Reb Moshe scrambled, got the waiters and the people to make a place for you at the head table, but you weren't unhappy. You were very unhappy with who you were sitting beside. You started grumbling about that. The waiters were so busy, as you remember, it was a big wedding. I was there. It took a long time to bring food to you. Everyone was enjoying themselves. The waiters were busy running back and forth. It must have slipped their mind. Reb Moshe went to the kitchen especially to make sure that you had food. But by that time, most of the food was gone. They just had basically, everything was picked over. They made you a plate of basically leftovers, and you got offended. You got upset that you were this person, the rabbi of Anipol, and this is what you get. You got very, very upset. You were angry with Reb Moshe. You were angry with the people. You left cursing. You didn't so much as give a mazel tov to the bride in the room, the chusn kala. You ran away, cursing the town and cursing everybody. As you remember, I was at that wedding. When I got the invitation, I thought someone had made a mistake. Surely this great philanthropist, this rich, wealthy, important guy couldn't possibly be inviting Reb Zushya. But the people with the letters, with the invitation said, oh no, there's no mistake. Reb Moshe specifically said, Reb Zushya must be here. And they showed me the guest list, and my name was at the top. I couldn't believe it. I was so thankful that rather than sending a message with the couriers, I walked all the way to the very rich part of town to personally thank the Reb Moshe and his wife. On the day of the wedding, I got there 2 hours early to help them, to see if someone needed some help, to help them set up, to do what I can, maybe set some chairs, set some tables, help in the kitchen. And again, I thanked the Reb Moshe, and I thanked his wife. I congratulated the chusn kala, the bride. I knew the girl since she was a very, very little girl. The gentleman, I knew his reputation, a fine man. Comes the ceremony. Reb Moshe asks me to officiate, to conduct the wedding. Again, I cannot believe what a great honor this was. I was overwhelmed. I do the wedding. We have the most delicious food I've ever said. To me, food was something that keeps you alive. It never occurred to me that food could be this delicious. It was the best meal I've ever had. Again, I thanked Reb Moshe. I went to the kitchen, complimented everyone there, said that they were artists. After the meal, Reb Moshe comes over and he says, Reb Zushya, would you please lead in the benching, the grace after meals? I was dumbfounded. I was so surprised. Before I knew it, I was saying, Rabbi say Mirvel and Benchen. He starts the grace after meals, and everyone follows. And then after the grace after meals, Reb Moshe asks simple Reb Zushya to conduct the Sheva Brachas, the special 7 blessings that are said after a meal for the bride and the groom. I was so overwhelmed. I was so flattered. I kept thanking God, one blessing after another. The rabbi says, "What are you saying this for? Just you rubbing my nose in it?" All that Reb Zushya wants to do is to point out that you expected everything and you got nothing. I asked for nothing. I expected nothing. And I got so much. And for every little thing, I was so grateful to the hosts, to the Chus and Kala, to Hashem above all. I think maybe that difference may go a long way to explaining why you are you and why Reb Zushya is Reb Zushya. That's the story the way I heard it. As with many of the stories involving Reb Zushya and Anipol, it has to do with point of view. To not, don't be prideful. Like, remember about the matzah? It's simple. There's no rising. There's no puffing up. There's no pride. There's no arrogance. There's no boastfulness. Be a little humble. Don't say, "I'm such an important person. Why didn't I get this? And how come this person doesn't say this?" Everyone should maybe, especially at Pesach, be a little less leavened, a little more like matzah, a little more like our beloved Reb Zushya of Anipol. We're going to be doing more stories, more lessons from the simple little things in life. They can teach us so much. Until next time, on behalf of the Emunah Project, I'm Daniel, and thank you too much.